Today's video is going to be a little different. I want to talk to you guys about mental health, miniature painting, and what both those things mean for me. My name's Connor, and welcome back to the Hobby Heap. Miniature painting means many different things for many different people. For some, it's a hobby, a passion, an interest. For others, it can be a job, either a full-time one or an aspiring side project. For others, it's an escape from day-to-day life, in much the same way a good book or an immersive video game can be. I'm going to be doing a lot of talking in this video, and in the background I'm going to show you my latest project, an Arthurite June Scuttler for Necromunda. This was both really fun to paint, but also a tough project at the same time, which we'll go into later. As many of you know, my name is Connor, and I'm the Hobby Heap. I'm just one guy with a passion and a dream and a desire to escape the day-to-day struggle of normal life. What many of you don't know, however, are my struggles with mental health. That obviously doesn't define who I am as a person, nor does it define anyone who battles daily with their mental health. I think it is important, however, to look into miniature painting and how it can be an incredible outlet when things are tough. On the other side, I want to look at what we can do when our safe space, our creative outlet, starts becoming difficult, and how we can minimise that burnout and tell those voices in our heads to eat shit. I cannot stress enough, these are my own personal opinions. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist. I just want to share with you guys my thoughts and feelings on the subject. So, why is miniature painting good for mental health? Having a creative outlet. I'm a firm believer that having a creative outlet, whether it's music, writing, art, or in this case miniature painting, is a fantastic way to let ourselves just relax and switch off from the outside world. It's a way for us to show off our creative sides, a different side of you that you might not be able to express as much in your job or at school. That creativity lets our imagination roam free, or allows us to put a little bit of ourselves into any miniature we paint. Whether you copy the box art to the best standard you can, or whether you make your own chapter of Space Marines or your own clan of Orcs. Creativity is so important, and miniature painting is one of the many ways we can let that side of us come out. Mindfulness. Miniature painting and building for me can be my happy place. I can open a fresh new box with that new spruce smell and get to building straight away. I can be building little plastic guys for hours before I realise how much time has actually passed. Painting has that similar effect, of course, but I'm still dipping my toes into the vast world of miniature painting in the grand scheme of things. Switching off from that outside world, regardless of if you have a whole week or only a matter of hours on a Sunday afternoon, can be extremely liberating and so good for your mental health. Sometimes, however, it's not about ignoring the outside world and all the struggles you may be facing. Sometimes I can sit down and build or paint some models, and that gives me time to think about what is happening in my life, in a calm and stress-free environment. I'm fully aware that when I pick that brush up and when I put that brush down, the outside stresses and pressures will still be there. But I can take this time to think about what I can do without getting bogged down and overstressed. Community. Struggling with your mental health can be the loneliest battle in the world. When you don't know how to talk to your friends or family about what's going on in your life and how you're feeling, is truly a struggle I do not wish upon anyone. Having a community around you, however, to talk to and support you is so vitally important. And miniature painting can be that community. From people who post on Instagram, to Discord servers, to YouTube comment sections, to people in your local gaming store, you can find people who like the same thing you do. People you can have in-depth conversations with, people you can show your miniatures to. Let's be perfectly honest here, collecting little plastic men and painting them isn't the coolest thing in the world. But at the same time, who cares? This community is so welcoming and friendly, and having support from people around you is all that matters. That's why I think miniature painting can be good for your mental health. On the other hand, what hardships have I personally faced with mini painting and my mental health? How can we deal with these? Motivation. Sometimes even getting out of bed can be a Herculean task for me. So how then am I supposed to summon up the motivation to paint models? How do I conjure up the energy needed to put paintbrush to palette and paint my best work? It's a fool's errand, so why even bother? I have struggled with this enormously in the last few months, hence why the release of videos on my channel has been so sporadic. I started to not enjoy the things I used to love. How does one get that love and enjoyment back? Try something new. Try a new technique. Try a new painting method. Paint using only inks. Paint using only a sponge. Paint something for a different army. Damn dude, paint something for an army you don't even collect. I don't even play Necromunda. I saw this model, I had some vouchers, I was visiting family in Nottingham, so I marched up to Warhammer World, bought this buggy fella and his mate, and just went for it. Trying something new can be a fantastic palette cleanser. Personally, painting the same colour on the same 30 plus guys who look the same can be monotonous and can really take the love out of mini painting. Try to take a step back. Give yourself a breather with a new and interesting model and come back to your regular rank and file fellas later. I'm not going to lie to you, you need to paint them, but don't overwork and overstress yourself trying to get them all done in one go. We give ourselves these imaginary deadlines in our heads and then we get burnt out when we don't meet them. I promise you, you will get that army painted and looking beautiful on the tabletop and playing games with your friends, but do it at your own pace. If it's feeling like a monumental task, take a break with something new and fresh. Trying to be the best painter in the world. I spend a lot of my time watching YouTube or scrolling through Reddit and Instagram looking at everyone else's paint jobs and conversion and constantly falling prey to these clickbait 12 new hacks to make you a better mini painter. And sometimes I love it. I love seeing new and exciting models. I love seeing that creativity that's poured into the community. Other times, it can be rubbish. It can be so demoralising to have been painting for years and then to see a post like, how's my first miniature? And it's the most goddamn beautiful thing you've seen in your entire life. How are you not meant to feel a pang of jealousy that someone with no previous miniature painting experience can paint better than you ever will? How can you create amazing painted miniatures without the entire workshop and tools and array of paint that these content creators have? Quite simply, not everything you paint has to be your magnum opus. What I mean by that is, not everything you do has to be the best thing you've ever painted in your life. And that is true of everything you do. Whether it's sports or baking or, I don't know man, pruning hedges. Creativity is not a linear graph where the next thing you paint has to be the best thing you've ever painted, and so on and so forth. Is it good to see progress in your painting? Of course it is. But speaking from my experience, I have little fire warriors I want to paint for my Tau army, and enormous centerpiece models for display. It doesn't matter what order I paint them in, it's about how much I'm willing to put into those models. One is going to last 20 minutes on the tabletop before being annihilated by some massive power armored freak, and the other is going to sit on my mantelpiece or shelf for everyone to see. Is it really worth edge highlighting every nook and cranny on an infantry troop? Making sure the OSL is perfect, the non-metallic metal is pristine? In my opinion, absolutely not. Set yourself realistic goals. You can have models that you love and adore and want to spend hours, days, weeks working on, and you can have little guys that are just for gaming. Both are important in their own ways. It's up to you to decide if it's worth pouring your entire heart and soul into a model you might have 50 plus of and risking burnout, or if it's just not worth the grief. No one is going to pick up your troop off the gaming table and critique the fact that you haven't painted underneath the groin area and laugh at you for it. If they do, get better gaming pals, because you deserve it. And who knows, if you keep chipping away at it, you might one day paint the greatest miniature you ever have. Decision paralysis. Have you ever had an idea of a model or a paint scheme in your head? You sit down to execute this master-crafted plan and you just don't? Where do I start? What colours do I use? Do I have the right colours? Do I need to go to the shop and buy more colours? Do I have the right brushes? Can this scheme be easily transferred to other units of my army, or is it going to take too long? Do I have enough time to do this model? Or am I going to be doing it for a couple hours now and then not pick it up again for a couple of weeks, then by that time will I have lost where I am? I really struggle when lots of questions are posed at me, lots of paths, lots of different outcomes. I just stop. I freeze in place and I don't move. Because in my head, if I don't move, if I don't pick any one path, then I can't pick the wrong one. And surely not picking any path at all is better than picking the wrong one, right? I know it's easier said than done, because I have found myself at these very same crossroads time and time again, but you just gotta go for it. So what if the colour you picked isn't the right one? Pick a different colour. Paint over bits you've already painted. Strip the model and start again. We only learn by making mistakes. That is true of life as it is with miniature painting. Trust the process. There were so many times painting this model that I was getting frustrated and I just wanted to give up. I hated the light green on the legs. So I took some time away from it, played some video games, came back to the model, and I just painted over them. It hasn't detracted from the paint job and it hasn't obscured any details. It's absolutely fine. When it comes to a hobby that we pour so much time, effort, and let's be perfectly honest, money into, we start to think that every mistake is costly. And it's just not. We can paint over mistakes, we can start again, we can trust the process and add new bits to tie everything together. It's not the end of the world if we have to repaint that bit of our model 2 or 3 or 4 times. And you might even learn something from trying again and again. I know this was a bit of a different video from normal. Rest assured, I'll be painting more Tau and more Monster Hunter themed dinosaurs in the future. Eagle-eyed viewers might have even noticed this bug-like fella was inspired by a monster from Monster Hunter. Thank you for watching if you've made it this far. Even if this video convinces one person to pick that paintbrush back up and have another go at miniature painting, that's a win in my book. I've still got a long way to go in my own personal battle with mental health, but I'm doing my best and I'm trying to get up every day and work on it. If you have any thoughts or feedback on the video, or you want to share your own tips for tackling burnout, or even tell me how your painting's going, put a comment down below and let's start a conversation. More importantly, check up on your friends. Ask them how they're getting on. Let them know they're not alone and that they are loved and valued. Look after yourselves out there and never give up. You got this. I've been Connor and this has been the Hobby Heap.